Have you ever met someone who complains about their job every single day, just entirely miserable, yet they never actually leave?
Oh, yeah. Constantly.
Right. Or think about someone you know who constantly says they're like deeply unhappy in their relationship, but they never actually pack their bags.
They stay stuck.
Exactly. Or maybe, and I mean, let's be incredibly honest with ourselves today, maybe that person is you.
It's a tough mirror to look into.
It really is. But we're jumping right in today because we are unpacking the psychological and economic forces that trap us in these unhappy situations.
It's a fascinating topic.
Yeah, we're looking at some excerpts from this really incredible conversational script called The Speaking Circle. And the whole mission of this deep dive today is to help you, the listener, look at your own life and figure out a really hard truth.
Which is whether you're building a future or just escaping the present.
Yes, exactly. Are you building a future or just trying to escape the present? So, okay, let's unpack this right here out of the gate.
Let's do it.
Because the speaking circle hits us with a scenario that exposes this contradiction perfectly. It says, if you're given two choices, choice A is to stay exactly where you are right now, knowing you are deeply unhappy.
Right.
And choice B is to step into a completely uncertain future. Almost everyone immediately says, oh, I'd choose the future. I'd take the leap.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone says that on paper.
But then we look at reality and people absolutely do not do that. They freeze. They stay.
Yeah, they do.
Why? I mean, are we just biologically wired to be gluttons for punishment?
Well, no, we aren't staying because we're masochists, right? We're staying because of, the fundamental architecture of the human brain.
Okay. What do you mean by the architecture?
So from an evolutionary standpoint, your brain does not care if you are happy. It just doesn't.
Wait, really? It doesn't care at all?
Not even a little bit. It does not prioritize joy or fulfillment. It prioritizes one thing, and that is safety, survival.
Wow. Okay, so happiness is just like a bonus if we happen to stumble into it?
Basically, yeah. Psychologists refer to this state as the comfort zone, but honestly, that term is actually deeply misleading.
Because it implies that the zone is actually comfortable.
Right, exactly. It doesn't necessarily mean it feels good.
Yeah.
It just means it's familiar.
Okay, I see.
Even if a situation is actively painful, like, say, a toxic workplace that's just burning you out, or a drained, emotionally vacant relationship.
Yeah, something that makes you miserable every day.
Exactly. Its familiarity makes it feel safe to the amygdala, which is, the primitive part of your brain that scans for threats.
So the brain is just looking for what it recognizes.
Right. You woke up miserable yesterday and you survived.
Yeah.
Your brain logs that as a successful survival strategy.
Oh, wow.
It literally says, great, let's do that again today. We know exactly how to survive this specific misery.
So we're essentially choosing a known pain over an unknown possibility, simply because we have the data on the known pain. We know exactly how much it's going to hurt.
You hit the nail on the head. And we have zero data on the unknown. To your brain, a lack of information is synonymous with danger. The uncertainty of leaving that job or that partner, it might kill you, metaphorically speaking.
Right. The brain treats it like a literal threat to your life.
Yes. Stepping into the unknown triggers a massive stress response because your brain can't predict the outcome. And the brain is, fundamentally, a prediction machine.
And when it can't predict,
it panics. Total panic.
And that actually brings up this brilliant analogy from the material that made this abstract psychology so concrete for me.
The broken bridge.
Yes, the broken bridge. I want you, the listener, to really picture this with us. Imagine you are standing on an old, weak wooden bridge.
Just precarious as can be?
Exactly. It is creaking under your weight. The wood is actively rotting, and like a few planks have already snapped and fallen into the rushing river way down below.
Sounds terrifying.
Right. It is structurally failing. Now, right ahead of you is a brand new bridge.
Yep.
But here's the catch. That new bridge is completely hidden in a thick, heavy, impenetrable fog.
You can't see a thing.
Nothing. You can't see where it starts. You can't see where it goes. You can't even see if there are handrails. So the question is, which one feels safer to stand on?
The visual of that is staggering because logically, the broken bridge is a disaster waiting to happen.
A total disaster.
But psychologically, that fog is terrifying.
And the irony here is that most people choose to stay standing on the broken bridge. Like, it's fallen apart. You can literally hear the wood splintering under your feet.
But you stay.
You stay simply because you can see it. Leaving feels absolutely paralyzing because of that fog of the unknown.
What's fascinating here is why the illusion of visibility so easily trumps actual security in our decision-making. It's one of the most fascinating quirks of human psychology.
The illusion of visibility. That's a great way to phrase it.
Yeah, because you are standing on a bridge that is actively failing you. It is objectively dangerous to your emotional or professional well-being. But visibility gives us a false sense of control.
Ah, because you can see the rotting wood, your brain thinks, well, at least I know which planks to avoid.
Exactly. You tell yourself, well, I know exactly how my boss is going to demean me in the meeting today, so I can brace myself for it.
Right. You have a strategy for the dysfunction.
And that coping mechanism, that bracing for impact, becomes your entire reality. You've highly adapted to the dysfunction.
And stepping into the fog means giving that up.
Entirely giving up that highly adapted armor. You have to trust that there is solid ground ahead without having the visual proof first.
And the brain hates that.
Oh, despises it. Your brain's evolutionary programming screams against that kind of blind trust. It views dropping your armor as a fatal error.
But wait, if we know the bridge is broken, if we can literally hear the wood snapping under our feet, fear of the fog only explains part of why we stay, doesn't it?
Right, there's more to it.
Because what happens when you've been standing on that broken plank, bracing yourself for the fall for 10 years?
That changes things completely.
It does. Because that introduces a whole new anchor. It's not just fear of the future anymore, it's being chained to the past.
The investments we've made.
Yes. The text brings up our investments. And this is where I really want to push back on this concept, or at least dig into it. Because we hear people justify staying all the time with this.
Oh, all the time.
They say things like, well, I've already spent 5 years at this company, or I've invested so much into this relationship.
Or I spent a fortune on this law degree, I can't just quit now.
Exactly.
It's the classic trap of invested time.
Right. But I want to challenge this because in business economics, this is called the sunk cost fallacy.
Yes, the sunk cost fallacy.
When a company keeps pouring money into a failing project just because they've already spent millions on it, we call that a fallacy.
Right. They don't want the past investment to be for nothing, so they throw good money after bad.
But hold on. It's easy to call that a fallacy on a corporate balance sheet,
Sure, it's just numbers.
But in human life, in a marriage, if you've spent 10 years building a life with someone, isn't it incredibly callous to just write that off as a sunk cost?
That's a really valid question.
I mean, how do we differentiate between a psychological fallacy and a meaningful human commitment?
That is a phenomenal distinction to make.
Yeah.
And it gets right to the heart of why this is so deeply painful for people.
Because it feels like a failure.
Exactly. So commitment is continuing to invest in something because you believe in its future.
Okay. You believe in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are working through hardship because there is a shared goal, a mutual effort to, repair the bridge.
Right. You're fixing the planks together.
The sunk cost fallacy, on the other hand,
Right.
is when you continue to invest in something only because of the past.
Oh, just the past.
You've entirely lost faith in the future of the relationship or the career, but you stay anyway.
Why?
Because the psychological pain of admitting you made a mistake 5 or 10 years ago is just too devastating to face.
Oh, wow. So it's about ego protection.
100%.
It's the sheer refusal to admit defeat.
It is severe cognitive dissonance. Think about what it actually takes for a human being to look in the mirror and say, the last decade of my life was spent going down the wrong path.
That's brutal. Most people can't do that.
The ego cannot tolerate that level of perceived failure. So instead of accepting the loss of those 10 years, we double down.
We just keep going.
We treat our emotional investments like non-refundable deposits. 5 years in a toxic dynamic turns into 10. 10 turns into 20.
All to avoid the agonizing realization that we should have stepped off the bridge years ago.
Exactly.
It's haunting. You're so terrified of admitting you wasted time that your solution is to waste more time.
It makes no logical sense, but emotionally, it's exactly what we do.
You're trying to validate the past by sacrificing your future. I think about how much we romanticize the idea of sticking it out in our culture.
Oh, resilience is put on a pedestal.
It is. We act like accumulated time has this inherent magical value. But if you spent 10 years digging a hole in the wrong direction, you don't have a tunnel to where you want to go. You just have a very deep hole.
And you're sitting at the bottom of it, wondering how you got there.
Right.
This economic principle, when mapped onto human emotion, perfectly explains our paralysis. Stopping something that is making you miserable isn't a defeat, even though your ego screams that it is.
So what is it?
It is a correction. It is you finally taking the spade, climbing out of the hole and walking in the right direction.
A course correction. I really like that framing.
It empowers you instead of shaming you.
So let's take these mechanisms, the brain's demand for visibility, the fear of the fog, and the cognitive dissonance of sunk costs, and look at how they actually play out in the real world.
In our daily lives.
Yeah, in the most intimate parts of our lives. Let's look at how we make a living and who we love. The text dives pretty deep into societal expectations around our careers, for instance.
It does.
Think about the massive cultural phenomenon of dreading work. I mean, how many people do you know who wake up on Monday morning already waiting for Friday afternoon?
Honestly, it's practically the default state of the modern workforce.
It really is. There is an entire industry of internet culture, of memes and merchandise just dedicated to hating Mondays and waiting for Fridays.
The whole working for the weekend mindset.
Right. But if you are just holding your breath for the weekend, you are surviving. You are not living.
No, you're merely existing.
But let me play devil's advocate here, because practicality matters, right? We all have rent, mortgages, kids to feed. Health insurance is often tied to our jobs.
Of course, the stakes are very real.
So are we just supposed to march into our boss's office tomorrow and quit with zero plan? Because that sounds like stepping into the fog without a parachute.
No, absolutely not. Reckless abandonment isn't the answer, and that's a crucial caveat the text makes.
Okay, good.
Responsibilities are very real. But the danger isn't necessarily in staying for a few more months to build a safety net.
What's the danger then?
The massive, invisible risk is waiting for the perfect moment to change things.
Oh, the perfect moment.
People tell themselves a very comforting lie. They say, I'll leave when I have exactly this much in savings. Or, I'll change careers when the kids are older.
Or when things just slow down at work.
Right. But the perfect moment is a myth.
A complete myth.
It never arrives because the parameters constantly shift. And while you are waiting for this imaginary alignment of the stars, your life is quietly, relentlessly passing you by.
Wow.
The days turn into months, the months into years. The safety net you are trying to build becomes the very web you are trapped in.
That really brings into focus a quote from Steve Jobs that the Speaking Circle highlights.
Which one?
He said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life."
Such a powerful quote.
It is, and when you apply that to this conversation, it forces a really uncomfortable audit of your own choices.
It really makes you evaluate things.
Like how much of what you do every day is just playing out a script that someone else handed you? Are you grinding away in a career because you actually find it fulfilling, or because it's the prestigious path your parents pressured you into?
Or staying in the city you went to college in just because society expects you to settle down and buy a house there.
Yes. The weight of external expectations is heavy.
It's immense. We often construct our comfort zones entirely out of the bricks of other people's opinions.
Ooh, that's good.
And if you decide to step into the fog, you aren't just battling your own amygdala. You are actively disappointing people.
That's the terrifying part for so many of us.
Right. You have to tell your parents you don't want to be a lawyer after all, or tell your peer group you're abandoning the corporate ladder to do something completely unconventional.
And you get no applause for that.
None. That requires a phenomenal amount of internal validation because you will get zero external validation for doing it.
Which perfectly transitions our lens to what is arguably the most difficult part of this entire deep dive.
Relationships.
Relationships. This same ego protection and fear of the fog doesn't just keep us in cubicles we hate. It's the exact same mechanism that keeps people sleeping next to someone they haven't genuinely connected with in years.
It's heartbreakingly common.
The text shifts the conversation to staying in partnerships where the respect is gone, the intimacy is gone, and you are just, existing together.
It asks a piercing question about that stage. At that point, do people stay because of love, or do they stay because of fear?
And what's the verdict?
The underlying mechanism usually reveals that it isn't about love anymore. It is the sheer, overwhelming fear of loneliness.
The fear of being alone.
It's that insidious voice whispering, what if I never find someone else? What if this is the absolute best I can do? And if I leave, I'll be alone forever.
And that leads to one of the heaviest questions I think I've ever encountered in these material. I really want you to internalize this scenario if you're listening.
It's a tough one.
What is genuinely worse? Being alone for a while or feeling completely alone every single day while sitting right beside someone?
It's a staggering comparison.
It really is, because the mechanics of that loneliness are so different. Like when you are single and physically alone in a room, feeling lonely is natural. It makes sense.
Right, you're alone, so you feel alone.
But feeling alone in a shared house, feeling alone sitting at a dinner table, or worse, in a shared bed, right beside a partner who doesn't see you, doesn't respect you, or doesn't connect with you anymore.
It's a uniquely devastating kind of isolation
Why is it so much worse?
because the proximity of the person constantly triggers the expectation of connection.
Oh, that makes sense.
Your brain says, my partner is right here, I should feel supported. And then that expectation is constantly, repeatedly denied.
It's just constant disappointment.
Exactly. It creates a massive psychological void.
Yeah.
When you are physically alone, there is at least the potential for connection. The space is open, new people can enter.
But in the bad relationship.
When you are trapped in a dead relationship, that space is occupied by a ghost. You are closed off to new potential, but you aren't receiving any actual warmth from the person taking up the space.
Man, that's heavy. And here comes the sunk cost fallacy rearing its head again.
Oh, absolutely.
People say, well, we've been married for 7 years, or, we've shared so much history, our families are so intertwined.
It's the exact same trap.
Going back to the bridge analogy, you're looking at your partner, you're looking at the dynamic, and you can see the planks rotting away. You know you aren't supported.
But the fog.
The thought of stepping off into the fog of being single, the sheer exhausting awkwardness of downloading dating apps, of going to restaurants alone, of having to entirely rebuild your identity without them.
It feels insurmountable.
It really does. So you stay on the broken bridge and you just try to step as lightly as possible so it doesn't collapse today.
You shrink yourself to fit a failing structure.
You shrink yourself. Wow.
Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of this entire phenomenon. Why do we stay?
Right. After all this, what's the core reason?
We don't stay in these bad situations,
Mhm.
whether it's a soul-crushing job, an isolating relationship, or a city we've outgrown, because we love where we are. We stay because we haven't yet learned to trust ourselves.
That's a gut punch.
We don't trust our own ability to navigate the fog.
We fundamentally doubt our own resilience. We think, if I quit this job, I won't be smart enough or adaptable enough to find a better one.
Or if I leave this relationship, I won't be emotionally strong enough to handle being alone.
So the barrier isn't just the fog itself.
No, it's the belief that we will get lost in it and never find our way out.
The text hits on something incredibly profound here about that. It says, the very first step toward happiness isn't having a perfect, bulletproof exit strategy.
Right.
The first step is simply believing that you actually deserve to be happy.
Believing you deserve it.
It sounds so simple on a deep dive like this, but it's incredibly difficult in practice when you've been beaten down by a bad situation for years.
It takes immense unlearning.
Yeah, when your baseline for so long has been just survival, the idea that you deserve to thrive feels almost arrogant.
It does. It feels selfish.
It reminds me of the quote from the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl that the source text brings into the discussion. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves."
And that internal change is the true catalyst.
How so?
Well, when you realize the bridge cannot be fixed, when you accept that the boss will never suddenly start respecting you, when you realize the partner is never going to miraculously engage and be the person you need, when the city will never feel like home, you have to change yourself.
You have to make the move.
You have to locate the internal courage to make a tremendously difficult, uncomfortable decision. That internal shift is the only way out of the paradox.
It's taking ownership. It is deciding to stop being a passive victim of your own biological comfort zone. You are literally overriding the amygdala.
Yes, it requires an active, conscious rebellion against your brain's evolutionary desire to keep you safe and stagnant.
A rebellion. I love that.
You have to literally tell your brain, thank you for trying to protect me with this known pain. But mere survival is not enough anymore. I want to thrive, and I'm willing to risk the fog to do it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with something to really mull over.
A final thought for the listener.
Exactly. We've talked extensively about the terror of the fog, the trap of the sunk cost fallacy, and the illusion of safety on the broken bridges of our lives.
Right. And to synthesize all of that, I want you to consider a concept we haven't explicitly named yet today, but it serves as the ultimate counterweight to everything we've discussed.
Oh, this is good.
Let's call it future regret.
Okay, future regret. Walk us through that.
We've spent this entire time talking about the fear of stepping into the unknown and how the sunk cost fallacy makes you mourn the 5 years you've already spent on the broken bridge.
Right.
When you are in that state, you are entirely focused on looking backward at the time you've spent, or looking immediately downward at the terrifying fog in front of your feet.
Right, your perspective is locked.
But I want you to mentally fast forward. Fast forward exactly 5 years from today. You're going to look back at this exact moment in your life.
Okay.
And you have two choices of regret. You can either look back and regret the temporary discomfort, the fear, and the sheer awkwardness of stepping into the unknown fog to try and build something better. Or you can look back and regret sacrificing 5 more years of your highly limited, precious life, standing frozen on a bridge you already knew was broken.
Wow.
Which regret are you more willing to live with?